I'm just going to tell you right off the bat that we are going to go very, very deep with this one. This is not your run of the mill advice of how to get over your ex, how to get over an avoidant woman by just, going no contact and not looking at pictures of them. Obviously, that advice is good, but this is for the man that wants to up level so much from this experience that he calls in his soulmate, that he calls in a better life for him, that his fulfillment as a man in the world exponentially increases into realms that he didn't think were possible. So, in order to get those kinds of results, we got to go so deep into the subconscious root of what is happening and alchemize it at the core. And if that at all sounds triggering to you, I suggest you do not listen to this because you will be triggered. The point is to be triggered. Okay. Triggers are our greatest blessings. This is true for men and women. Why? Because when we are triggered, A, we're running a story about it. Okay. That's what happens in the mind. But B, the body actually has a feeling about it. The body has a felt sense, uncomfortable emotion, and it trips up the animal body, right? We're all animals. We are mammals. It trips up this animal body response to always and instinctively run from pain and toward pleasure without consciously thinking about it. When we operate from those animal instincts, we lose free will. We lose the opportunity to actually move towards what it is that we actually want because we are running away from essentially a feeling that we don't want. So that's kind of the trajectory of where we're going. Watch until the end because I am going to give you 3 steps to actually get over your avoidant ex and to actually exponentially, again, become the man that you are meant to be. So let's dive in. I have so much to share with you. I'm going to try to make this as accessible as possible because this actually is deep work. And then at the end, I will share where to go for next steps of support that I can offer you. Okay. So, let's look at emotions, right? We kind of started to talk about it in terms of the animal programming. Emotions exist in the body, right? When you feel heartbroken, which you may be feeling heartbroken now, you may be feeling heartbroken even still from an avoidant woman that hurt you, 2, 3, 4 years ago. Sometimes it's even like 10 years ago, or maybe you're in a recent heartbreak. Whatever heartbreak you're feeling exists in your body. And so I just want you, and actually do it. I know it's lame, but do it, okay? Because this is part of it. You have to take your hand and place it over the part of your body where you feel it. So most people are going to feel it here. Like they're going to feel it in their heart. Sometimes people feel it in their throat. Sometimes they feel it in their lower heart. The more you can actually get out of your head and into your body, that's what we need because emotions are wormholes to the past. Okay. So how you're feeling in your body relative to your ex or relative to the woman that hurt you exists in the body, not in the mind. People get trapped because they start to run stories. They start to run stories of like, I'm never going to meet anyone like her ever again. She was everything. I thought things were going so well. I can't believe she hurt me so much. I can't believe she would do that to me. A lot of times I hear stories like, I loved her for 5 years and she discarded me like I was nothing. Okay, these are the stories around it, and you have your own story. And it's not that the story is not valid, right? We can look at it objectively and be like, okay, that definitely happened. But we have to start to separate the emotions from the story because the story that you have around it is meaning, it's words, it's how that experience, like if you imagine that this experience happened, it happened externally, and there was different, let's say, sound waves and different things that were said, right, that went through your ears, different things that you saw, different things that you experienced. They basically, all of that external information comes into your 5 senses, but as it's coming into your 5 senses, it gets pushed through a web of darkness. Okay, if you can just imagine that, it's almost like a flashlight's being pointed into your five senses, and that light gets manipulated, it gets thwarted, it gets organized by this web of darkness called your nervous system. Okay, we're going to talk about that. Gets organized by this web of darkness called your nervous system, and it produces a certain feeling in the body, right? It might be shame, it might be heartbreak, it might be guilt, it might be unworthiness, it might be grief, it might be rage, it might be anger. And that all exists in the body. That feeling exists in the body. A fraction of a second later, that feeling, because we are human, we must make sense of that feeling. It shoots that information up to the thinking brain, and the thinking brain attaches a story to it. Okay, the thinking brain will always attach a meaning to the felt sense in the body. That's where the story comes from. Okay, the story that you're running, the story that you're telling yourself, I must not be good enough. She's a horrible person. I always attract bad people into my life. What else do I hear? I can't believe someone would hurt me that much. What does that mean about me? I can't believe someone who I gave that much to would discard me that quickly. This is the story around it. It's the meaning you're placing on it in order to make sense of the feeling in your body. But the story you place around it is about 5% of you, if not less. The story you place around it also comes from the same part of your brain that lies. Animals in the wild cannot lie. We have a very well developed prefrontal cortex, which means we can lie. We're very socialized to lie. We can disconnect from our body. We have a function called top down processing where we can say, that heartbreak's not valid, and I'm going to dominate it with my thoughts. This, if you could just understand that one concept, like it, that even just alone would set you free. Because what you're doing is you're dominating the feeling in your body with the thoughts, and you're perpetuating a story that went through a web of darkness. And then we have to look at where was that web of darkness created. The web of darkness, called your nervous system, that light comes into and then it thwarts it, was created in childhood. Broadly, okay? Generally speaking, it's created between the ages of 0, yes, when you are one cell in your mother's belly, like at the moment of conception, to about 7 years old. Your nervous system, that web of darkness, is like, oh, it's like open. It's like a sponge. It's full of possibility and opportunity. It's ready to be molded by life's experiences. And so oftentimes for men who have experienced an avoidant X, the web of darkness relates back to an experience with their mother or their mother figure or a feminine being. Sometimes it's a grandmother. I've heard that as well. That experience from that original feminine wound have shaped their nervous system in a way that it tells it to sort for that again. Because whatever was there first in the nervous system is what the subconscious will continue on a repeat loop to prioritize over and over and over again. So however you were wired between 0 and 7 is what you will repeat. That is not free will. Okay, remember we talked about free will? This is not free will. This is you living in an adult body, and everybody does this. So I'm not like pointing fingers. Everybody does this. And we're just narrowing it in on this avoidant relationship so that you can feel better and call in a very healthy relationship. Everyone does this. We are basically living in the past by repeating that pattern. Now, from a spiritual perspective, consciousness loves this shit because consciousness is like, oh, great. Well, if I can recreate that situation again, generate enough pain in this person's body, then they will look at the original root and they will bring free will and true belief systems. I am worthy of the love I desire. I have always been good enough. I am loved. I am whole. And it will correct itself. But we get tripped up on that animal programming that goes, ooh, I never want to face my pain. I don't like this. That doesn't feel good. I would rather get this avoidant woman to change. I would rather get this avoidant person to love me. I would rather try to delete them from my mind. I would rather try to get over it without doing this deep dive into the subconscious. And that is why you still have looping thoughts. because I know I'm talking a lot. I hope this is making sense. I am going to get to the steps. I just want to give you the understanding first. You still have looping thoughts because the thoughts that exist in your mind, if you imagine that they have roots, they are rooted down into feelings in your body that are unprocessed relative to your past, most likely relative to your mother. If you just imagine that, the thoughts are not against you. You cannot bulldoze those thoughts. You cannot use willpower to stop those thoughts. You have to say thank you to those thoughts and track them down into your body, and then use the actual felt sense in your body, the feeling in your body, right? Remember how I said take your hand and place it over the part of your body? You use that information, just the feelings in the body, not the story, just the feelings. I feel angry. I feel grief. I feel sadness. I feel heartbroken. I feel unworthy. I feel shame. I feel guilt, right? Use the feelings in your body as a wormhole to heal the past so that you are existing in a broader sense of free will, so that you can actually move towards a relationship that will be useful and beneficial for the gift you have to the world. Let's pause there. Let's talk about masculine feminine dynamics just for a moment, and then I'm going to talk about the 3 steps unless something else comes up. We talked about how emotions and the thoughts work. So I think that's a pretty good understanding there. The next thing we have to look at, and this is going to be specific for masculine beings who are in a relationship with feminine beings. So we have to understand that masculine does not mean man, feminine does not mean woman. However, generally speaking, a biologically born male will feel best when he's leading with his masculine energy, and a biologically born female will feel best and most authentic when she is leading from her feminine energy. Okay, I should probably make another YouTube video just on that. The masculine is a giving force. The masculine, if we take it all the way down to the biology and we look at sex, what is he doing? He's getting erect with his purpose in the world to procreate, and he is giving information. Okay, he's giving information via semen into a woman's body. Now, the feminine is a receiving force. The feminine, so to speak, sits back and allows for this process to happen, to receive actual DNA, to receive information into her womb. The womb is a multiplier because a feminine woman, right, or just any woman that has a womb, has a uterus, she has this bodily and spiritual and emotional capacity to multiply things. Okay, the feminine is a multiplier because she receives information and she will multiply whatever she is given. If she's given these DNA strands and these chromosomes and these all these things that are in semen, she will create new life from it. Whatever she is given, she will multiply. And because of that, on an unconscious, emotional, spiritual level, she will mirror back to you what you are giving to her. That's probably going to be the most triggering thing that I say in this episode, if you actually caught what I just said. Because what I'm not saying is that anyone is bad, anyone did anything wrong, or that anyone consciously calls in or wants uncomfy relationships to happen. Nobody wants heartbreak to happen. But oftentimes what happens, I'm going to give you a scenario example, and this may be relatable to you, it may be not, is that when a man is on that hero's journey, okay, the hero's journey for a man is essentially he's mostly driven externally most of his life. He's creating, he's whatever, working, climbing the corporate ladder, building businesses, figuring out his masculinity. A lot of it is driven by testosterone and dopamine, so it's a real external focus. For a lot of men who eventually call in an avoidant woman, there's a wound so deep in his childhood from the mother wound that cuts him at his core. It cuts him in his ability to give to the world from a place of free will and integrity. Because it hurts so badly. It hurts so badly for a little boy to not be loved in the way that he wants to be loved by his mother. Like, however flavor that landed with you, because that was the broad spectrum of it, that experience is actually considered trauma for most people, different variations of trauma, is so traumatic, is so overwhelming for a little boy that he wraps it up in whatever emotion he experiences and then he shoves it in the back of his neurology. And a lot of his early years of his hero journey, his teenage years, 20s, 30s, sometimes even into the 40s, is actually about running away from that original wound. If it caused him to feel unworthy, he's going to run towards worthiness. If it caused him to feel shame, he's going to try to create something externally where he doesn't have to look at that shame. Now, often, not always, but often in this scenario, because a man has an unhealed relationship to the feminine for good reasons, right? So there's no blame here. It's like, yeah, that you should not have been treated that way by your mother growing up. And people have so much shit and baggage from generational shit that it's like everybody's operating unconsciously. So we kind of got to look at it from both perspectives without blame and shame. But when a man is hurt that deeply and he goes off onto his hero's journey, he's running from that original wound. He doesn't have a healed relationship to the feminine. So every being, oh, my lights were just turned back on. Oh, sorry, the power went off. Let me go turn off the red light. Hang on. Okay, we're back. Now I gotta find my train of thought. Because he doesn't have a healthy relationship to the feminine, he often will choose someone as a wife or as a long-term partner or a series of partners that don't ever touch that wound because he's so focused externally, he doesn't want to touch that wound. And so sometimes he'll choose a wife that doesn't get into the deepest part of his heart, the deepest part of his wound, the deepest part of his gift to the world. Remember, the masculine is a giving force. When a man consciously goes, you know what? I want to experience something different. I want to experience a deeper form of love. I am ready for that. And he makes the decision to leave the relationship or the relationship falls apart in some way. What he's communicating to his higher nervous system, his higher self, to the universe at large, however you want to view this, is he's saying, I want to experience a greater form of love. I want to experience a greater form of my gift to the world so that when I give, it can be fully received in like a full circuitry in a way that feels really good. But what people don't realize is that when they claim something big like that, your subconscious goes, oh, that's fantastic. In order for you to get there, you have to process this unconscious pain. So he makes this decision to leave the subpar relationship, for lack of better words. And he journeys into this place of like, well, now I will find better. Now I will get something that really matches who I am. But the next step that usually happens is he calls in an avoidant woman. And when I say call in, I do not mean consciously. I mean that it is mirrored back to him because his subconscious is seeking out the correct mirror to mirror back the pain from childhood because emotions are wormholes. And it's in this avoidant relationship where he is either seen, he is loved, he is met at the depth of his heart, but at the depth of his heart, there is pain. And so at some point, either during or after the relationship with the avoidant, that pain has to come up. Okay. Remember how I said women are multipliers? We have a womb. She's not doing this consciously, but if you've been with an avoidant woman, when you are giving to her, because you are giving your love, you're giving your intention, you're giving your semen, you're giving your DNA, you're giving to her, you're pouring into her, and her womb, spiritually speaking, is multiplying what you are giving. So if you are giving from an unconscious place, okay, because you have an unhealed mother wound, you have an unhealed relationship with the external feminine and your own internal feminine, and you are giving from that place, it's going to be multiplied externally and reflected back to you so that you can process your pain. This is the only way to heal, by the way. This is the only way to heal from an avoidant and create exponential results in your life, in your career, in your finances, in your love life, in your sex life, in your meaning, in everything. This is the only way to do it. And I know that's a bold statement, but everything else is child's play. Like everything else is like uninteresting, in my opinion. Everything else is like very, very surface level. Do this, not that. I never tell people what to do. I mean, I know I'm kind of giving you steps right now, but in my one-on-one work, I almost never tell people what to do because the human neurology will basically reject anything that it is told to do. It has to, and especially for a masculine being, has to find it within himself. I'm giving you the process to find this within yourself so that you can evolve from the inside out. Okay, so women are multipliers. So the feminine receives that information, and the relationship, which is like the third party, because there's you, there's the woman, there's the relationship, starts to mirror back to you a lot of this unprocessed pain. And like we said before, that is where people get tripped up. They experience that pain, they go up into their head, they generate a story about it, and that story only perpetuates the limiting belief systems that they developed in childhood in order to make sense of the fact that they weren't loved the way that they actually want to be loved. And they start running from that pain. They start falling into people-pleasing behaviors. Who do I need to be in order for this avoidant woman to love me? What do I need to do? How can I change? How can I get her to change? How can I get this pain to stop in my body? That is reactive behavior. That is not free will. When you're reacting to the pain in your body and trying to run away from it, you lose all free will. You lose the game. Okay, we can gamify this. Game over. You got to try it again. You don't want to try this shit again. So follow these 3 steps. The place that you have free will, and this is step number 1, is to fully choose your pain. You have to fully own your side of the street. You have to fully drop out of the story you're running in your head and drop into the wormhole of emotions in your body and use it and leverage it as your greatest gift. So step number 1 is fully owning your side of the street. If you are hating your avoidant ex, if you are putting anything on your avoidant ex to change, even thoughts that you want her to change, if she could change, then you'd be happier, this and that. You are taking this gigantic ball of like empowerment and deep, hot, sexy masculinity that you have in your body, and you're giving it to somebody. You're giving it externally because you don't want to deal with it. Because you don't actually want to get to that place inside of you that can operate from like full sovereignty, like a sword that fucking cuts through things. When you blame, and this is true for all people in all situations, when you blame other people, when you say, well, I can't be happy because of this, I can't stop thinking her because she was so amazing, I can't stop looping in my head because she hurt me so badly, I just can't get over it, and you're allowing that feeling to dictate that story, you are giving her your power. You have zero empowerment there. You have zero empowerment to change. You have zero empowerment to evolve into the next level version of you and to up-level every part of your life, because you are giving your emotions that exist on inside of your body and saying, basically giving it to something external that you have no control over. We have zero control to change other people. Okay, that's like a hard fact, but we do. We have zero control, nor would you ever want to have control to change another person. You don't even want that, because then people aren't showing up authentically. So step number 1 is to fully own your side of the street, to take the story and start to pay attention to the feelings in your body and say, the feelings in my body are 100% my own. They are 100% reflective of something that I am ready, that on a soul level, I as a man have called in because I am ready to heal. This is not about her. She was like the gateway drug to get you into the deeper part of yourself. She was like the doorway that opened. She was like the gift that mirrored back to you this pain so that you could evolve. So really choosing it, really seeing it as a gift, and really owning the felt sense experience in your body. Step number 2 is you got to do what's called shadow work around the mother wound in particular. Shadow work, some people are like, oh, what's shadow work? Like, it sounds maybe taboo. It is not really at all. Shadow work is essentially just the shit fuckery that goes on in your subconscious that you're not aware of, that's dictating your life. And it's like, oh, okay, let me bring the flashlight of my awareness, point a flashlight on the shit fuckery and heal it. When you heal relative to the mother wound, you will no longer be running away from the mother wound. That's what this step does. I do have another video on YouTube that I'm going to link above. It is the 4 steps to rewire any trigger. So here's how you're going to do this. You're going to take step number 1. You're going to drop in your body. You're going to feel that feeling. Whatever feeling you came up with, I don't care what feeling it is. You just have to be authentic about what that feeling it is. Plug it into the formula of the video that I just linked, the 4 steps to heal any trigger, and go through that process. Because I've worked with so many men at this point where I'm like, men like systems, right? And shadow work is very chaotic. Shadow work is like, it's like a feminine chaotic process of dealing with emotions that have zero logic to them. Okay. I took that chaotic process and I put it into a 4-step system so that you just walk through the 4 steps. So whatever feeling you have to do shadow work relative to your mother wound. In particular, inner child work, which I should probably make another video on that. But plug that into the system. That's going to be your shadow work step. And you have to follow those steps precisely, especially step number 4. Otherwise, it won't work. All right. Step number 3 is what you're going to notice after you've correctly done the shadow work is that you're going to feel different. It's because you are different. You're not, after you do shadow work, you are not the same version of you that you were prior to doing shadow work physically. Because physically, prior to doing shadow work relative to the mother wound, you were literally operating from a set of neural pathways that was still 5 years old, that was still 2 years old, that was still 10 years old. You were operating from a set of neural pathways that had zero empowerment to get the love that you wanted and needed. And again, remember, that's very, very painful. So you are constantly creating a reality from the subconscious information of, I am not lovable, I'm not worthy, all that jazz. When you do shadow work, you're essentially accessing that neural pathway and you're allowing it to grow up. You're allowing that 5-year-old self to expand into your adult self. You're allowing that awareness to flood through a broader sense of neural pathways rather than this one little pathway that's very reactionary. Oh, pain, I run away. Pain, I run away. Now you're like, hey, I know that this happened, but I know who I am. I know what my worth is, and I know what I want. I know what I'm looking for, and I know that the things that happened in my past literally have nothing to do with me and that I am lovable and whole. So when you actually get to that place, your, how do I say this? Your consciousness, your awareness is no longer in that little neural pathway. It's flooding through a lot more authentic parts of you. Physically, your awareness is actually taking up more space in your body. And the way I usually like to explain that one is that if you're looking at a beautiful sunset at the beach, and it's that sense where you can see everything all at once, like you can see the birds, you can see at the same time, you can see the ocean, you can see people walking by, you can see the waves, and you can see the periphery really well. You can see the periphery of what you want. You're aware of the third option. You're aware of expansiveness. You're aware of what you actually desire because your nervous system is regulated. Now, in that scene, if a tiger were to jump out, what would happen? You would lose access to the periphery, the visual periphery, and you would lose access to what you want. You would enter a state of survival because a tiger is attacking you. And what would you do? You would run away. As you're running away from that tiger, are you going towards your soulmate, love, connection, relationship, highest evolution of who you are as a man? Oh, fuck no. You're running away from a tiger. You're never going to end up at your highest evolution. Okay? That's the difference that happens after you do shadow work, is you've been operating in relationship relative to the feminine as if a tiger is attacking you because you don't like the feelings in your body of how you were treated. And that's all really, really valid. But this is where it gets to change. Okay? When you do the shadow work, you look at the tiger and you realize it's not a tiger. It's actually just generational wounds. It's actually consciousness moving through you, expanding you into who you're meant to be, into the man that you're meant to be, where you're embodied from the top of your head to the tip of your cock, and you're giving to the world and to your woman from a place that is in full integrity, that is fully conscious of what you are giving into her womb so that she can multiply that love infinitely. The problem before is that you were giving unconsciously because you were running away from the tiger that is the mother wound. Does that make sense? Okay. So the third step is that now that you've done shadow work, you're back to seeing the periphery. There are no tigers. You're aware of what you really want. You can see all the options. You actually are in the infinite. And from there, you get to decide, what is it that you authentically, I don't know why I said that weird, authentically, what is it that you authentically want? What type of relationship do you truly desire now that there are no tigers? What type of gift do you have to give the world? And if I'm triggering you by saying connecting down to your cock or anything like that, if you have trouble even sexually in that realm, getting hard, this and that, nice guy syndrome, I'm going to link another video above. It's 2 parts, but I'm going to link part 1. Make sure you watch both because it's actually about connecting to that instinct. And that's a really important part for a man as well. What do you actually want? What is your true and authentic gift to the world? And how can you come from this place where you're connected to heart and sex energy and biology and give to the world from a place of consciousness? And then from there, you want to say who, okay? Not what do I do? This is very important. Who is that version of me? Who is that version of me? And you literally start being him. This is not woo-woo manifestation. This is not fake it till you make it. This is like you've been granted access inside of you to the keys to the kingdom, but you've never used the keys before. So you have to take action on this expanded state of consciousness by literally changing who you are. You know, I talk a lot about in my content that we all wear a mask. Shadow work rips off the mask. Now you get to assign a new mask. But the mask that you assign, because everybody has to wear a mask all the time, like we're a social species and that's just how it goes for us in these little human bodies. The mask that you assign is from free will. It's not from a reaction to the tiger. It's not the mask that you created when you were 5 years old because your mother didn't love you the way you wanted to be loved. You're creating an authentic mask, and that's the last step. Who do you get to be now, and what does that life look like? All right. Those are the 3 steps. I know I've given you a lot of information. I've linked some videos. If you're watching on, or rather listening on podcasts, I will link everything in the description so you can check it out there. If you'd like your next steps, I do have an entire course called Mastery for Men that will walk you through the process of shadow work specifically for men. I get absolutely phenomenal results, and I have a free introductory class called Unleash Your Masculinity if you want just some more information on what Mastery for Men is about. So I'm going to put those below. I'm going to put the free introductory class. If you want to get started with that, it's 40 minutes, totally free. Check it out, see if you like it. I'm also going to put Mastery for Men below if you're like, yeah, no, this is something that I want. I'm ready to heal. I'm ready to up level in all the ways. And I'm going to post one more link for you to check out just to kind of put into your field because some of you are really going to gravitate towards this. I'm also going to put the link called Rewild Your Release. This is, I actually feel gimmicky when I say this because it sounds so gimmicky, but I really mean it. This is the way you literally instantaneously get rid of trauma from your body. It's like a light switch that you turn on inside of you that accesses the mammal part of your biology that can just release trauma. So if you know that your mother wound has been traumatic, even if it's complex trauma, or if there's sexual trauma in your past, or if there's physical abuse trauma in your past, at any age, a lot of these steps that I'm giving you are going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to actually really do in a big way without knowing the trauma side, or rather the trauma release side of it. The trauma freezes the part of your neurology that you'll keep trying to get access to, and it'll keep bouncing you back out. Like you'll keep trying to lean in, it'll bounce you out. So you have to clear the trauma from the body first, and then you'll have a direct portal to get to exactly where you're meant to be. And the Rewild Your Release course, like I said, great for complex trauma, which is a threat to the sense of self. It's more like emotional trauma, we could say, and physical trauma, which I think that's pretty obvious. But it's a very robust course. It's a very robust program of completely taking off every layer of your mask, putting on a new mask, living into it. I walk you through it step by step. And the results I get from that are absolutely mind-blowing. That course is absolutely mind-blowing. So those are your next steps. I got some free options. I got some paid options. Just depends on where you want to take it. And I will also link, if you want to have a one-on-one session with me, you can book one off or you can apply to work with me long-term. But I'll put all that below. Trying to think if there's anything else. Let me know in the comments how all this landed. You might want to listen to this video or listen to this podcast a couple times because I know I was really, really, really layered. And I think that's all. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Make sure you hit subscribe, follow. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all the things. Love you. Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.